Texas A&M could be without starting quarterback Conner Weigman against the Florida Gators on Saturday.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. On today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about, hey, what's going on at the quarterback position. We're going to talk about what's going on with Donovan Green. He's still banged up. Break that down, and then we're going to answer some questions about what's going to happen if you have to roll with Marcel Reed. We're going to talk about an updated record prediction, and we're going to talk about some other things on today's episode. But first, we got to get right into it. You know, the college football rules have changed. You have to give an injury report. And Conner Weigman pops up on this injury report last night. Questionable. Anyone that has seen the league, that fantasy football TV show knows that joke. Love that. But questionable means it's 50-50 if he's going to play or not. And now there's been no disclosure to what the injury is. Truly, Conner popped up on the injury report. Questionable. That is all we know. So here's breaking this down. First of all, Texas A&M's in a good spot for this. And hey, at Texas A&M fans, we all get it. Texas A&M loses their starting quarterback every single season. It's something you can count on, just like taxes and Santa Claus coming on Christmas. You can count on it. And, you know, looking at this, once again, you've prepared for this. We've talked about it all offseason. Texas A&M is in a great spot with Marcel Reed as your backup quarterback. I think Marcel Reed is going to come in and do a really good job. But, I mean, if you ask me right now, my prediction, Andrew, does Conner Weigman play? Here's my thought. If he wasn't seriously in jeopardy of missing this game, because you can list probable, questionable, or out. Make him probable. Probable means he's probably going to play, but he's, a little banged up or something. You could have made him probable. I just have a weird feeling that if he's popping up as questionable, less than 48 hours to game time, I have a weird feeling that he might miss his football game. Maybe the situation will clear up more today. But regardless, one thing it does do now is now Florida's preparing for, Marcel Reed and Conner Weigman. And I'll tell you, everyone's after the Notre Dame game, I've seen the fan base comments here on Locked On Aggies from you everydayers. I've seen a lot of folks commenting things like, let's just go ahead and make the move to Marcel Reed. And I wasn't quite there yet. I was kind of in the thought of let's let Conner play against Florida and see what happens. He looked pretty good against McNeese. Now you got to let him play against another SEC team or a SEC team. Notre Dame's obviously not an SEC team, but you'll play against another legit team and see what happens. And so I wasn't quite on the it's time to bench Conner Weigman train yet, like a lot of people were. Now, this is going to be really fun to watch. We've talked and sang the praises of Marcel Reed as one of the better backups in the SEC all offseason long, and now he's going to get his opportunity. And I'll tell you this, I think that Marcel Reed was, shoved into action last year against Oklahoma State in the bowl game. And I think that's going to serve him well. I don't know what his preparation's been like. Is he like Jordan Mason of the 49ers? He knew on Friday. Sorry to 49ers fans. That was crazy. I'm sure they weren't cheating. But, that's what I want to know is, when did we find out about the Weigman injury? Did something happen Wednesday? Something happen Thursday morning? And, but hey, at least Marcel Reed's got a little bit of time if he's going to be the one to go out there. Now, here's the deal. Whether Conner ends up playing or not, they're preparing Marcel Reed to play right now. So it's not like they're going to be like, okay, Marcel, we kick off in 20 minutes. We're going to rule out Conner. You're going. It's not going to be like that. They're going to prepare Marcel today and Saturday morning. And then, I wonder, Conner will either be a game time decision or we'll see what happens. But the point is, Marcel Reed is preparing for this game right now as if he's a starter. That's a good thing. He shined against Oklahoma State when he didn't have any time to prepare. Now, yes, on the flip side of that, Oklahoma State didn't have time to prepare for him, but still, point remains, he was able to get shoved into action against an Oklahoma State team and come out and really shine. So I believe in Marcel Reed. I believed in him since the beginning. I thought we were going to see a much better performance out of Conner Weigman against Notre Dame. And, I didn't think we were going to be having should we think about changing starters conversation this early into the season? In all honesty, I didn't think we were going to have that conversation at all. But this is what scares me. I'm not scared about Marcel Reed as a player. I think he's incredibly talented. Well, actually, let's read this tweet from Carter Carroll's talking about what Coach Elko had to say about Marcel Reed. He had high praise for his young QB. He talked about on the SEC teleconference, he said he has tremendous arm talent. He can make things happen with his legs, and he had a strong spring game and a solid preseason camp. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think this coaching staff is confident in what they have in Marcel Reed. They should be. He's a really good quarterback. I believe he's the future of this program at the quarterback position after Conner moves on, whatever happens with him. So I think Texas A&M fans should feel good if Marcel Reed goes out there. Once again, my concern is not Marcel Reed and the talent he possesses. My concern is, will he be able to, play well in the swamp, first SEC start, first career start. I mean, once again, the Oklahoma game, Henderson got the start. He came in after he got hurt in the first drive. So, first career start against Florida in the swamp. Those fans are still bought in right now because, you're not technically out of it yet. So I think the fan base is still bought in. I think they're going to be hyped up for this game. This is a really big game for both sides here. So I'm really anxious to see A, what ends up happening with this situation, and B, will Marcel Reed come out and play well if he does end up getting the start in this game? And I think he will. In segment 3, we're going to talk about, hey, if Reed ends up starting in this game and he plays well, what do you do moving forward? And that'll be a conversation for down the road, because you have to assume that this injury to Conner Weigman is not anything concerning when you talk about the long term. When you talk about long term for him, like it's one of those, he's 50-50 going to be good to go for this week, and then he'll be ready for the following game after that, you can assume. So that'll be a conversation here in segment 3. But you know what? I mean, once again, strap him up. Let's go. Let's see what happens here. I believe in Marcel Reed. Like I said, I think he's really, really good. I think he's a guy that his upside is absolutely through the roof. He has just got to be able to prove it. He's just got to be able to show the world who he is. He's got to show the world, hey, I'm Marcel Reed. I'm really, really good. And this is my opportunity to step up and play well when my team needs me. And if he goes out there and plays well and gets a win for the Aggies over the Gators in the swamp on short notice when it comes to getting himself ready to start, there's a bright, bright future ahead for the Aggies mobile quarterback and Marcel Reed. So we're going to see what happens. It was funny. I was going to record today's show yesterday, and then for something told me, I was like, no, we'll get up and do it in the morning, and I'll get some other work done, and I'm glad I did, because I'm glad we're able to break this down. So really anxious to see what happens. It's going to be a fun football game. And once again, even if Conner starts, there's a lot that lot of excitement out there. There's a lot still to be seen. I mean, he's got a lot to prove in this football game. So there's a lot going on, whether it's Marcel Reed, whether it's Conner Weigman. Quarterback play is going to be huge in this football game for the Aggies, and I can't wait to see how it plays out. We're going to talk about who needs to step up to help Marcel Reed if he does end up starting in this football game. And then we're also going to talk about Donovan Green and what Coach Elko had to say about him and his health. We'll talk about those two things coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I'll tell you about our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Also, want to talk about our friends over at LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tool to help find the right professionals for your team faster and, most importantly, for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively searching for a job, for a new role, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. So, to me, if Marcel Reed does end up starting in this football game for Texas A&M, which once again, if I had to put a number on it, I'd say it's around 50-50, but it's exactly what the percentages say for Conner Weigman's, injury, or not injury, questionable means 50-50. So, I think that the first thing that needs to happen is Colin Klein needs to create plays and create opportunities early in the game. And this is, in all honesty, be the same for Conner, but to get Marcel Reed comfortable early. And I've said the same for Conner because, I think Conner's in a spot where he needs to play well and he needs to get comfortable early too. But for a guy making his first ever start on the road in the swamp against an SEC team, yeah, I think you're going to want to help him get comfortable early. So, all three other positions on this offense need to help. The running backs, the running game, offensive line, receivers, tight ends. Everybody needs to help make Marcel Reed feel as comfortable as possible when he takes the field, if he does end up getting the start on Saturday. Because this isn't easy. Making your first SEC start is not easy. And now you're having to make it on the road in the swamp against one of the, I guess I was getting ready to, Florida's not great. Against an okay SEC team is not easy. These guys got to step up and help them. What that means, receivers, you can't be dropping balls. Running backs, if you have the opportunity, if you find the hole, you got to take advantage of it. You got to pick up some yardage. You got to get chunk plays. Receivers, get open. Give him easy passing lanes. Tight ends help block, get open for some, dump offs for some, hey, there's nobody over downfield. I'm going to get it to my tight end for a 6-yard gain and we'll live to play another day. Offensive line, give them time in the pocket. That's the key there. And I think if this offense the rest of these players around Marcel Reed can help him, I think it will be huge for this young quarterback to settle in and play well if he does end up getting the start for the Aggies on Saturday. So the rest of the players around him need to help as much as possible, and that could help Marcel Reed settle in and play well in this football game. Now, y'all got to remember, and you don't want to put a ton of pressure on a young quarterback in Marcel Reed, but man, this is still a must-win game, y'all. I mean, the outlook on this season is going to change drastically if you lose this game on the road. You know, I mean, we talked about heading into the season with your schedule, the upside of a 9-3 record, 8-4 being very realistic with a chance at 9-3. Both of those numbers get very, very scary. 9-3, I'd say, is done. I feel pretty confident 9-3 is done. And I'll be honest with you, at that point, you're probably starting to get concerned about 8-4. You can't lose this football game. You're a better team. I know it's on the road. I know it's a tough place to play. You're playing against a defeated Florida team, in my opinion. I think they're ready for a new coach there. I think this team is just ready for a change. I think this game is an opportunity for you to walk into Gainesville and take down a team that is kind of ready, maybe ready for it to be basketball season down there. So this is a really good opportunity. It's a must-win game. If you want to overachieve this year, if you want to be able to look back at the season and say, hey, this was a good year, step one to doing that is taking down Florida. So for me, even if it's Marcel Reed, if it's Conner Weigman, don't care. This is a must-win game for the Texas A&M Aggies, because if you don't, yeah, you can still go 7-5. But with this schedule, 7-5, in my opinion, I know it's a new coach. I know some might disagree with this. To me, with this coaching, with this schedule and the talent you have, and this 7-5 would be a bit of a letdown, I'll be honest. So this is a must-win game. This gives you a chance to get to 8-4. Got to win this football game. So now we'll talk a little bit about Donovan Green. You know, Coach Elko had this to say about Donovan Green. Unfortunately, he is still just trying to kind of get back to the form that he knows he can be, trying to get that knee back moving the way he is comfortable moving and the way he used to be before the injury, or the way he used to before the injury. You know, I hate this for this young man, for Donovan Green, because it just sounds like he's just not getting back to 100% as quickly as we thought he would. And that is really unfortunate. I did not expect it to end up taking him this long to get back going. And we talk about it all the time. I mean, it's like, you hit it for fantasy football. It's always scary drafting the running back coming off of an ACL tear, because it's just hard for them to get back to being themselves quickly. Sometimes it takes them a few months, maybe a whole extra year on top of the year of rehab to get back to being that player. I still believe in Donovan Green when he is back to being Donovan Green. He's not there yet. So I think the goal for him, keep getting healthy, keep figuring it out. You got to get him back on the field to get him back to being himself, because he's too good of a player to not have on the field for this football team. So Donovan Green, rehab, got to get healthy. I still think that whether it's the end of this year, whether it's next season, Donovan Green's upside is through the roof for this program. I still think he's a tight end that could be playing on Sundays. I still think he's a guy that you could be drafted on your fantasy football team down the road. He is that talented, but he's got to get healthy. And what that means rehab. That means doing things to get his knee back, being able to cut, being able to run, being able to block, being able to push off and get open, being able to push off and block for your running backs. There's a lot that Donovan Green needs to be able to do to get back to being, once again, Donovan Green. I'm just a little bit surprised it's taken this long. With the new age, once again, I'm clearly no doctor, but the new age of medicine, you're seeing players get back from ACLs sooner than later. So I figured by now, we're now probably a year and a month, maybe a year and a month and a half past this injury. So I'm a little surprised. In all honesty, it might be a year and 2 months. So I'm a little surprised that he's not really, if not 100% really close. But Donovan Green's going to get back to 100%. We know that he's going to get healthy, and he's going to be a really, really good football player for a long time. Got a couple mailbag questions to answer. We're going to talk about those coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Factor Meals. So Factor Meals is something that is a new, like I said, friend of the show that I really, really, really like this product. I love the meals. I've been able to try them. Stuff is really, really good. Fuel up with Factors, no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor Fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new factors or new flavors to explore. Love this. A lot of the competition, not a lot of options. You're eating the same thing every week. Not with Factor. You've got something new every single day, and I love that. Head to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 and use code lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code lockedoncollege50 at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. So this question here, which I think is a really interesting one. I actually had someone DM me this on Twitter, X, whatever you call it. Someone says, if Marcel Reed ends up getting the start and he plays really well, what do you do going forward when it comes to quarterback? Do you go back to Conner or do you stick with Marcel Reed? And I'll tell you, this is really, 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 really tough. This is a really tough question, in my opinion. I think I look at this, at that question, and my quick response, my quick answer is I think it depends how well we're talking with Marcel Reed. I mean, if he goes out here and he goes 31 for 35, well, I mean, they're not going to throw the ball many times. If he goes 24 for 29 for 351 yards and 3 touchdowns, runs the ball for another 39 yards, and the Aggies blow the doors off the Gators, yeah, I think it's going to be really, really hard to go back to Conner Weigman after a performance like that. But if he goes out there and he's just okay and the Aggies win, or he's bad and the Aggies lose, that's when it gets interesting. So I think that's the answer. If he is exceptional, if he is insanely good and the Aggies win, it's going to be really hard for this coaching staff justifying going back to Conner Weigman. If he's kind of like or bad, that's when I think you would go back to Conner Weigman if Conner does end up missing this football game. So yeah, if you're wondering, is there a world where Marcel comes in and plays well and takes over the job for good? To me, the answer to that question is a resounding yes. So I am really anxious to see who ends up playing, and then if it ends up being Marcel Reed, is Conner going to get his job back, or is this going to be a Brady Bledsoe situation where Marcel Reed just takes it over? Someone then asked me my updated record prediction, and I'll tell you this, a lot of it is going to come down to how the Aggies play on Saturday. If they lose to Florida, I'm probably saying 7-5. If they beat Florida, I'm still going to say 8-4. But if you beat Florida, your outside chance at 9-3 is still there. But once again, it's all going to come down to how this offense plays. The offense has to be way, way, way better than it was against Notre Dame. That's just the reality here. If the offense plays well, you win. You get the win. I think that 9-3 is still on the table. If the offense is bad, you win. I think 8-4 is realistic. And if you lose, I think you're probably looking at 7-5. So this game is going to be really telling for the rest of the season for the Aggies. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here every single day. Really, really, really appreciate it. I hope everyone has an outstanding weekend. Enjoy this football game. It's going to be a fun one. I'm fired up for it. Really can't wait to see A, who plays quarterback, B, how do the Aggies play. Must-win game. You got to show up. Hope everyone has an outstanding weekend. Thank y'all so much for being here, like I said, and we will see y'all on Monday right here on Locked On Aggies.